Welcome everyone to the Beyond 60 podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm so glad you've decided to join us today. If you're like me, a bit beyond that big 6-0, or maybe just approaching it, you've probably found yourself doing a little more reflecting lately. Thinking about what comes next, what life really means after decades of building careers, raising families, and, well, just doing. There are so many conversations happening out there, some quiet, some quite loud, about this next chapter. And it's easy to feel a little, adrift sometimes, or maybe even a bit isolated in those thoughts. But you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to dive into some of those very real thoughts and feelings, and hopefully come out feeling a little more connected and a lot more optimistic. And I'm thrilled to have a wonderful co-host with me today to share his perspective and really dig into these topics. Please welcome David.
Thanks, Sarah. It's great to be here. When you talk about those reflections, it's like suddenly someone flips a switch, isn't it? 1 minute you're just going, and the next you're looking back and then forward, and it feels like a whole new landscape.
Exactly, David. A whole new landscape. And one of the biggest things I hear about, time and time again, is what to do with all this new freedom, or some might say this new time. It's funny, just last month I was speaking with a friend from Arizona, and she said, I'm retired and work a part-time job 3 days a week, rode 16 miles on my e-bike this morning, and later I will play some Xbox. It's certainly not your grandma's retirement, is it?
No, definitely not. My brother-in-law, he was saying something similar. He was always, just working, and then retirement hit, and he suddenly felt this gap. He mentioned, I sit on my porch and just watch the birds and squirrels in the woods with a cup of coffee, which sounds idyllic, right? But then he added, once in a while I will see a deer walking in the woods if it is early in the morning, and I could hear in his voice that while it was nice, it wasn't quite filling everything. It made me think, is that all there is? That's such a common sentiment, David. It really is. It's that initial quiet after decades of noise. But it's also an incredible opportunity. I recently spoke with a woman from rural Ohio, and she shared that she started gardening and learning, trying to do mixed media. She said it took her months of feeling a lot of uncertainty, wondering what the next chapter would bring before she took control. But she did. She's now volunteering to pet and house sit too, and she just lights up when she talks about it. It's like she found her new purpose. That's pretty inspiring, actually. You get so used to your identity being wrapped up in work, then suddenly it's gone. I guess it really is about finding those new activities, isn't it? I mean, I heard a guy at my old golf club talking about how he took swimming lessons at my local community center and really enjoyed it. There are also aquafit classes that are quite fun and a decent workout, too. He said it sounds like a lot of fun. And it made me think maybe there are things out there that aren't just sitting.
Absolutely, David. There are so many possibilities. A couple I know in Florida, they just picked up a national parks pass for $80. They're active when we want to be, but there are days when we can just do nothing. That balance, that freedom to choose, it's a big part of what makes this time so special. It's about consciously filling your days with joy, not just hours.
And, it's not just about grand adventures either, is it? My wife has really found joy in quieter pursuits. She's been diving into reading and even getting involved with some local groups. It's like you find the small things that spark that interest, and then it grows from there.
Precisely. It's about cultivating a life that reflects who you are now and who you want to be. Now, let's talk about something that becomes even more important as we get older: friendship and social connection. For many of us, our social circles evolve, and it's a time to really consider what truly nurtures us. I've heard from some folks who feel like their friendships have become, a bit one-sided. I spoke with someone recently, a gentleman from Pennsylvania, who felt that his so-called friends were always trying to get me one of those cash apps. He felt they were enabling those who were constantly asking for loans, gifts, etc. It's like, how do I put this? You want to be there for people, but not feel used.
I can totally relate to that, Sarah. It's like you start seeing things clearer, isn't it? Like you suddenly realize, is this a friendship or am I just a service? I heard a story, a pretty blunt one actually, from a woman at my local coffee shop. She said, I dropped a friend when I felt like I had become a useful resource and not someone to talk to and spend time with. And she added, I have never regretted it. That kind of stung, but it also made a lot of sense.
It does. And it's incredibly brave to make that call. It's not about being selfish, it's about self-preservation. I've spoken with a fair few people who've come to that realization. One woman, a relative in Nashville, told me she had to end friendships due to the constant complaining about their life. I can't handle all that negative energy. She also mentioned that she would drive a long distance to see them, but they never reciprocated. And that, David, that's not typical friend stuff. True friendship is mutually beneficial, a two-way street.
Exactly. My wife, she talks about this sometimes. She'll say, life's too short to spend time with negative people. And, for so long, you just do things because you always have, right? But then you hit 60 and it's like, hold on a minute. I actually heard a really positive story, though, from a guy I know. He retired and joined a local walking group. And he said, I had to keep looking at different groups, but eventually found a few great ones, met new people, and developed a satisfying routine. It shows you can still build new connections, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the beautiful part. You can cultivate a new circle, a new tribe, as someone put it. A mentor of mine who lives in California, she just said, find a volunteer gig or hobby group that you could genuinely enjoy, give it a few times to feel comfortable. She really emphasized the importance of finding those outgoing, positive people. Because as she put it, older people like us are almost always friendly and outgoing and uninhibited, so it's easy to find people to do things with and to get ideas from. It really is about seeking out those connections that uplift you.
And I think that's so important, too, because you don't want to feel stuck, It's like, I remember thinking, do I just have to keep the friends I've always had? But then you realize, no, you can keep building. My wife's high school friend group, they're still going strong. She says, have things changed? Yep, divorce for 2 of them, problems with grown kids for 1, and I'm the one with too many deaths in my family, having to be a caregiver and a serious health problem. But they still talk weekly and see each other every few weeks. We've never abandoned each other over the years, even when our lives drastically changed and went in different directions. That's true friendship right there.
It truly is, David. It's about that enduring support, the shared history, and the willingness to adapt together. Beautiful. Now, let's talk about marriage and long-term partnerships. For many of us, this is the bedrock of our adult lives. And there's so much to this connection beyond the early days. I hear stories that are just beautiful, like a couple I know in Texas, married 44 years, who cuddle every evening, no exception. We both want and need it. And they said, lucky, I suppose, or worked on it. I think it's a bit of both, isn't it, David?
Definitely a bit of both. It's easy to take it for granted after so many years. I mean, my wife and I, we've been together since 79, married 88, and I still chase her around. We probably catch her once a week or so, but it's the constant engagement, isn't it? The effort. But then you also hear the flip side, don't you? A buddy of mine, 62, his wife's 59, married 35 years. He said, we had amazing connection in our 30s, 40s, and early 50s, now has tapered off to a quicker moment maybe 3 times a month. He felt bummed out, even though he said they have a great relationship. It's that sense of something shifting.
It is, and that's a very real experience for many couples. It speaks to the ongoing evolution of a relationship. It's like, how do I put this? Even in strong relationships, things shift. But, there's often a path forward. I heard a really insightful perspective from a woman who said, when things slow down, I doubt you always think about the connection, but that is all she remembers, as she has no interest in it. You cannot approach her for days, and then you do. That triggers her, and it is the only time she thinks about you as wanting that specific connection. She suggested, easiest fix, set up a schedule once a week on such a day. It sounds structured, but sometimes, ironically, that can remove pressure and bring back the joy of connecting. It's about meeting each other where you are.
Schedule it. That's an interesting thought. My wife, she always talks about how love is grand, even when we're joking around and maybe exchanging a few sharp words with each other in the hall. But the underlying current is always there, isn't it? The affection, the partnership. I heard a man, 77, his wife 70. They have a deep marital bond and closeness, sometimes more, whistle. And he attributes it to God made my desires for her. It's pretty powerful stuff. It just goes to show it's not a one-size-fits-all, is it?
It absolutely is not, David. And what works for one couple might not for another. But the key is that commitment to each other, the willingness to adapt, to communicate, and to keep that spark alive in whatever form it takes, whether it's structured, spontaneous, or just those little acts of romance we talked about earlier. It's all about connection.
You know, I've heard sometimes it's also just about acknowledging what you do have, like a couple who are 66 and 63, and they said they're still going strong. They may not verbalize it as much, but they're an enthusiastic partner. It's about that shared understanding, even if it's unspoken.
Exactly. The enduring strength of a long-term bond. It's truly a testament to partnership. Speaking of connection, let's talk about something that can often feel very isolating: health issues. As we move beyond 60, it's almost inevitable that something will pop up. And while it can be scary and certainly frustrating, I'm constantly struck by the resilience I see. I recently spoke with a gentleman, 64, who shared that he got Bell's palsy on July 3rd. He was getting a follow-up, blood work for Lyme disease, and it came out negative. He said, "My left eye has a drop running, and my left lip does not follow along. Overall, I'm good." That attitude, that overall I'm good, is just incredible.
Wow, that's a tough one to deal with. My own experience, thankfully, has been more on the minor side, but I can imagine how quickly those things can make you feel vulnerable. And it's easy to let it get you down, isn't it? I mean, I remember my parents. They both passed away 60 days from each other. They lived full lives until they died at 73. It reminds you that life and health is fragile.
It is fragile, David, and I'm so sorry about your parents. But what a testament to living life fully, even at 73. That's the kind of spirit we can all aspire to. And even when serious things happen, there are often pathways to improvement. I had a listener share her story about Bell's palsy from 13 years ago. She woke up, right side of her face drooping, thought it was a stroke. Her doctor put her on steroids, but after a couple weeks, her face stayed the same. So she went to a highly recommended acupuncturist, and get this, after 3 treatments, my face was back to normal. Oh, she said her doctor was so impressed, she sent another patient there. It just goes to show, sometimes you have to look beyond the conventional and keep advocating for yourself.
That's incredible. I mean, my buddy, the one with Bell's palsy, he said, the doc told me mine was a mild case and would improve. But it sounds like even for a mild case, you can be proactive. It's that mindset, isn't it? Not just accepting it, but saying, what else can I do? And it goes beyond just big illnesses, too. It's about optimizing, about taking control where you can.
Absolutely. It's empowering. And maintaining health, even the little things like eating healthy, exercising regularly, and having a strong social circle, as one person commented, these are all pieces of the puzzle. It's not just about reacting to illness, it's about proactive well-being. And that includes our mental health, too, you know? I heard a very powerful statement recently. Someone said, "I have heard of situations where unfounded accusations of preoccupation in or outside of the relationship were a symptom of dementia, a version of paranoia. It's a very real reminder that the mind ages too, and we need to be aware and compassionate, both with ourselves and with others."
It's almost like the older you get, the more you realize that health really is wealth, isn't it? Because without it, a lot of those other freedoms we talked about become much harder to enjoy. A friend of mine just tested positive for COVID today, and he's watching a lot of movies with my cats and dog. Even something like that, which seems minor to some, can really disrupt your routine.
It can, and it highlights the importance of simply being aware of your body, listening to it, and taking care of it with the best resources available. It's an ongoing journey of adaptation and self-compassion. Now, let's talk about work. For so many of us, it defines a huge chunk of our lives, right? And then suddenly it doesn't. Or maybe for some, it still does. I've heard from folks who are still in the thick of it, like one woman, 71, who said, "I still work full-time. So that's what I'm doing." And another 64 who started a new job in April. It's still WFH, but it's a return to a field I love. It's not always a clear-cut hit 65 and you're out. Is it, David?
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I'm still working part-time myself. My dad, he always said, retirement is not a specific age, it is a financial situation. And that stuck with me. But then, you also hear the ones who are just done. A friend of mine, he's still working, but he told me, I totally don't want to work anymore. He's waiting for Medicare before I hang it up. So there's that tension between needing to work and just wanting to be free.
There absolutely is. And it's a very personal decision. But what I find so interesting are the reasons why people choose to keep working. This 71-year-old woman I mentioned earlier, she said, "Gives me something to do." And she added, "I do enjoy my work, actually. It's technically challenging at times, so it keeps my brain stimulated. I help people navigate their property or casualty claims, and sometimes I'm able to get a better outcome for them, which is rewarding. Plus, the agency pays my health insurance premiums, and it's very good coverage. I have tons of paid time off built up, so can take off whenever I want, and I work from home. So no commute. Not a bad arrangement."
Whistle. That sounds like a dream job, retired or not. It makes you rethink, doesn't it? Instead of just pushing through to the end, maybe it's about finding something that actually works for you. I heard a guy saying he's working from home, but not very hard. I'm not feeling very worky today. And his kitchen was being redone. So it's that flexibility, isn't it? The ability to balance work with life.
Exactly, David. It's about designing a life that fits you, not just conforming to a predefined idea of what retirement or working should look like. It's that agency, that choice, that really makes all the difference.
And I think it also helps with that feeling of purpose. When you've been working for so many decades, suddenly not having that structure can be jarring. So finding something that provides structure and satisfaction, even if it's part-time, seems really key.
It absolutely is. It's about a smooth transition, not a sudden stop. And speaking of retirement, it's a word that evokes so many different feelings, isn't it? For some, it's the ultimate goal, the promised land. For others, it's a bit daunting. I mean, David, you hear comments like, retirement is boring AF, which can be a little disheartening if you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's like, wait, this is what I'm looking forward to? But then, I also hear from people, like this one guy who said, my wife and I retired at the beginning of 2024 and are loving it. We are active when we want to be, but there are days when we can just do nothing. That do nothing part, that's actually pretty appealing sometimes.
It really is. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's about the freedom. A woman from California, she said, "I'm on permanent vacation. Yesterday, I took a nap at 1 in the afternoon because I can." And she added, "And we deserve it all," which, I couldn't agree more with. It's that sense of earned rest, earned freedom that's so powerful. It's not about being bored. It's about having the choice to be idle.
Yeah, the choice. That's a good way to put it. I mean, I'm still getting up way too early even though I'm retired. But I don't mind that so much. I enjoy my coffee and the peace and quiet. So even if you're an early bird, it's a different kind of early, isn't it? It's on your terms. And my wife is always saying, every day is Friday in retirement.
I love that. Every day is Friday. And it's true, isn't it? It's 6 Saturdays and a Sunday, as someone else put it. And even if Sunday still feels like Sunday, that's okay. It's about creating a rhythm that works for you.
It seems like retirement for a lot of people becomes less about stopping and more about redirecting energy from work to life. And that's pretty cool to think about. I've heard people say, welcome to the 60s. I've been since December, and so far it's not too bad. I qualify for some senior discounts now, too. It's those little perks, you know?
Absolutely, David. The little perks, the newfound freedom. It's about finding the small joys in this new chapter. Redirecting energy. That's a perfect segue, David, into our next point, daily routines and home life. Because when the work structure disappears, suddenly you're faced with all these hours. And for some, that's just a blank canvas. For others, it's like, what do I do with myself? One woman I spoke with, a truly inspiring person, told me, I took over all the household duties. I cook, shop, and clean. I take care of the yard work and dog care duties. I do the planning for getaways and vacations. She said, honestly, I'm more busy now that I'm retired than I was when I was still working. She found her new rhythm.
That's a lot. I mean, I'm trying to ease into it myself. My mornings are pretty consistent. Up at 5:30 like clockwork. Corporate America caused this, even on the weekends. But then my wife heads off to watch our grandsons, so me and our Frenchie will catch some morning TV, probably a mid-morning nap, then head to the wood shop to finish setting up my workstation. It's a completely different pace, isn't it? But still a routine, just a flexible one.
It is, and it's about discovering what brings you joy in those everyday moments. I heard from a gentleman who said, I like a little time to myself before she gets up. It's those quiet moments that become precious. And for others, it's about tackling those long-delayed projects. I know a guy who's going to try transplanting a couple trees. I was given 2 Norway spruce in buckets, and I'm going to get them in the ground today. Then I'm going to mow my sister's yard. It's purposeful, fulfilling work, even if it's not a job.
I get that. My buddy, he's just starting to get into woodworking himself. He said he's not building furniture or anything, but I enjoy woodworking. And he mentioned he recently undiscovered I can go into small mom-and-pop food joints and custom design personalized lapel pins with the establishment logo and a name. I trade for store/restaurant credit for the wife and I. Good trade.
That is brilliant, David. A new little economy of joy. I love that. It's finding those creative outlets, those ways to contribute, even if it's not for a traditional paycheck. It's about making the most of every day in your own unique way. And that really does bring us to the next point, which is often tied closely to these daily rhythms.
Yeah, it's about finding those things that you maybe always wanted to do but never had the time for. Cleaning out the fridge, grocery shopping, then an afternoon full of making art. Sounds like fun to me.
It truly does. It's about those small victories that add up. Boredom. It's a word that can strike fear into the hearts of many, especially those who've always been busy. And I've heard comments ranging from, I'm bored out of my mind, to, I've never really understood boredom. What's your take on it, David?
You know, I've had my moments, especially in those first few weeks after the daily grind stopped. I mean, you're suddenly just there. A guy I know, he summed it up pretty well. He said, boredom is a choice, which at first I bristled at, but then I thought about it. When I was young, I was forever telling my dad that I was bored. He always said that he had no idea what bored was. And now I'm starting to get what he meant. There's always something.
Exactly. And that's the wisdom that comes with experience, isn't it? A woman I know, she said when she was a kid, her dad said, become a homeowner. You'll never be bored. And she confirmed he was right. Always something to do, something to make the place better, cleaner, worth more. It's about shifting your perspective. Boredom isn't a state of being, it's a lack of engagement. And engagement is always possible.
Yeah. I mean, my wife, she's got so many hobbies now. She's into gardening, and she volunteers and reads and watches TV. She said, I wish I was bored. I retired in March and have no idea how I did everything. So it's clearly not the universal experience, is it?
Not at all. In fact, many see boredom as an opportunity. A colleague of mine, a real creative spirit, always says, Sometimes we need boredom. It can spark creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It's that empty space that allows new ideas to bubble up. So instead of dreading it, embrace it as a canvas. You can pick up a book, watch the birds, try a new recipe, or, as one person said, go to the casino. Though that can get expensive.
Yeah, I heard that. I usually go to the casino, but that can get expensive, LOL. I mean, I'm more of a World of Warcraft guy myself. Been playing it for 20 years and find it beats the boredom when there is nothing else to do. It keeps my brain busy and allows some casual internet socialization. So it's really about finding what resonates with you, isn't it? What keeps your mind engaged?
Precisely, David. And it doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as watching the birds in the backyard for a bit. Then I usually get going on to something else. The point is, you have the autonomy to decide how you spend your time. It's a privilege to be idle and bored, as one comment wisely stated. Use it to do something powerful.
And I think the key is just trying things, getting out of your comfort zone a little. My neighbor, he joined a meetup group, and he's loving it. Says it's a great way to explore new interests.
It absolutely is. The world is still full of possibilities, even in your own backyard. Now let's talk about family. For many of us, our children are grown, maybe even have families of their own, and that brings a whole new dynamic to our lives. I hear so many wonderful stories about grandparenting. Like one person who said they're helping out with my granddaughters, age 7 years old and 8 months old.
Mm-hmm.
What a joy, right?
Oh, absolutely. My own son, he just moved into his apartment this weekend with his cat. So my wife and I will have some quiet time. But the grandkids, that's a different kind of joy. I mean, you're doing it again, but without all the heavy lifting, usually. A friend of mine, he's watching my 8-month-old grandson. I do this 5 days a week, so it's still a full-time gig for some.
It can be. And that's a real commitment, but it's also a way to stay deeply connected to the next generation. And while we talk about the joys, we also need to acknowledge the inevitable losses that come with this stage of life. It's hard. I mean, you shared about your parents. I remember a listener who said they were heartbroken because a friend passed away suddenly. He looked great. And then today are the services. Those are the moments that really hit you, aren't they? But even in those tough times, family support can be crucial, and it's about acknowledging that bond. But then you also hear about the flip side sometimes, like a woman who was in the hospital and she mentioned her friends didn't really check in, but when she was able to help, they were quick to ask for things, and she wondered about that boundary. It's like, how do you manage family expectations when you're also trying to live your own life?
That's a really complex area, David, because the dynamics of family can be so intricate. And it speaks to the broader theme of setting personal boundaries. It's about recognizing that while we love our families deeply, we also have to protect our own well-being. It's like one wise person said, I would never demand anything from another adult, especially my grown kids. It's about mutual respect, even within the family unit.
And sometimes it's about seeing your own kids become independent. I heard someone say, my son moves into his apartment this weekend with his cat. By Sunday afternoon, it should just be the doggo and I in the house for a week alone. My first real alone time in 2.5 years. That sense of getting your own space back can be a relief, too.
It can be. It's a new phase of family life with new freedoms and responsibilities for everyone.
That brings us to loneliness and the single life, which can be a particularly tender topic for some. It's a very real concern for many people as they navigate this stage of life. David, what have you heard or experienced regarding this?
It's tough. You see a lot of people who've had partners for decades and then suddenly they're alone. My wife, she always says, I'm 60 and I guess I think about it most days, but I'm single, so. There's that longing for companionship, isn't there? That feeling of having no one to share your life with in that particular way.
It's a very common feeling, David, and it's important to acknowledge that. But it's also crucial to remember that being single doesn't mean being alone or being lonely forever. I recently spoke with a 61-year-old single male who said, I have absolutely no desire to have a partner with me. Maybe it would be different if I already had a partner, but the idea of being intimate with someone new just isn't something I want. Too much other BS that comes along with it. He said, I'm done. No one telling me we don't go enough vacations, we should remodel the house, no one telling me anything. I do what I want. I'm not worrying about someone being not really satisfied with things anymore. He sounds incredibly content.
He does, actually. That's a powerful perspective, isn't it? It's not just about lamenting what you don't have, but appreciating the freedom you do have. My wife, she always jokes, this chat makes me so very grateful to be solo. But there's a kernel of truth in that for some people. It's about finding your own peace.
Absolutely. And for those who are looking for companionship, there are always avenues. A really encouraging message I heard was people can find profound satisfaction and connection within themselves. And the person who said this, a 60-year-old gay man, a prostate cancer survivor, he told me, I have a good life because I've cultivated that for myself. It's a powerful reminder that fulfillment can be found in many ways, and taking agency over your own happiness, regardless of your relationship status, is a part of well-being. It's about connecting with your community, your hobbies, and your inner self.
That's a great way to put it, Sarah, because you don't want that loneliness to define you. It's about finding purpose in other areas, isn't it? Like volunteering or even just having conversations like this.
Exactly. It's about actively building a life that feels full and meaningful with or without a romantic partner, which in a perfect world leads us to the topic of personal boundaries and self-care, because as we navigate all these relationships with friends, family, partners, even ourselves, setting clear boundaries becomes absolutely essential for our peace of mind. David, I've heard so many stories about people finally finding the courage to say, enough.
It's a muscle you have to build, isn't it? Saying no. I mean, a woman I know, she said, I dropped a friend when I felt like I had become a useful resource and not someone to talk to and spend time with. I've never regretted it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do, but it sounds like it's incredibly liberating.
It truly is. I spoke with a woman who shared her journey saying, about 2 years ago, I decided I no longer wanted to communicate with people I felt were unkind and did not bring value or happiness to my life. This includes family, friends, and acquaintances. She even stopped meds, started sleeping better, and has a veggie garden now. She said, I'm done pleasing, being gaslit, and offering to help everyone in life but myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended with, yep, sweet little only granny who isn't putting up with nonsense anymore from anyone ever. It's a powerful transformation.
Wow. That's quite the declaration. I mean, I can relate to the idea of a little old lady who's just had enough. It's like you reach a point where you realize your own peace is paramount. My wife, she always says, you're getting some good advice here. I think it's time to start answering their requests with, no, honey, I'm sorry. I got a lot going on. It's that simple, yet so hard, isn't it?
It is, but it's incredibly important. And it ties into our very last point, which is about appearance and self-perception. We touched on it a little earlier, but it's a foundational piece of how we feel about ourselves as we age. And, it's easy to get caught up in external ideas of beauty or worth, but what truly matters is how we see ourselves. I mean, it's natural to have thoughts about how we present ourselves as we age. And while physical changes are a part of life, the message I always hope to convey is that our worth, our beauty, extends so far beyond the superficial. It's about resilience, about kindness, about the wisdom gained through life. As one person put it, simply, old but not dead. That's the spirit, isn't it?
It really is. It's like, my wife, she's
She's always been very healthy, eats well, exercises, and she just keeps getting better. And I think that translates to how you feel about yourself, too. It's not about fighting getting older. It's about embracing the health you have and the life you're living.
Exactly, David. It's about shifting the focus from perceived flaws to celebrating the entirety of who you are, what you've accomplished, and the richness of your inner life. It's about self-acceptance and finding joy in your unique journey.
And I think that self-acceptance is key, isn't it? Because if you're comfortable with yourself, it shines through. You carry yourself differently. And that's something that never fades.
It truly is a light that radiates from within. And that's the most beautiful kind of vitality. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of another powerful conversation on the Beyond 60 podcast. We've talked about everything from finding new passions and nurturing connections to navigating health, work, and embracing the freedom of this incredible chapter of life. The core message I hope you've heard is one of hope, resilience, and empowerment. It's about taking control, seeking solutions, and finding joy in every day. David, as we wrap up, what's one key takeaway, one specific action you're feeling confident about taking after this conversation?
I think for me, it's the idea of being more proactive. I mean, my buddy with the Bell's palsy, the one who went to the acupuncturist, that idea of not just settling for what is, but saying, what else can I do? And I think, honestly, just getting back to the gym. I used to, and I know I could get back into it. That's a step I'm going to make.
That's fantastic, David. Small steps lead to big changes. And I am so grateful for your insights and your honesty today. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
And to all of you listening, remember this from a very wise person I know. Life is what you make of it. It truly is. So go out there, embrace your journey, find your joy, and make this chapter your most vibrant one yet. Until next time, take good care.